Welcome back to the What's Next series, part 3. We're talking about the New York Knicks, man. The Big Apple, one of my favorite cities in the world. The surprise team of the NBA last season, going from, way out of the playoffs to being the number 4 seed in the Eastern Conference, home court advantage in the first round. Guys stepped up, Julius Randle, All NBA. It was cute last season that they were the surprise team, but now they're expected to be a playoff team. So what's next for them to take the step from being just a playoff team that gets bounced in the first round to potentially making a second round, or maybe being the new Atlanta Hawks making a conference finals run out of nowhere? We'll see what's next for them. I'm here to talk about it, man. It's your boy Rick Knows Hoops. Y'all know that. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. If you haven't figured out, this is a place where we talk about NBA basketball. So if you love hoops, this is the place for you. And the Knicks, they brought joy back to the city. The fans were rocking. The Knicks were the surprise team. The story of the NBA this season, going from nothing to something. I can't wait to catch a game in the Garden because that environment just seems ridiculous. I can't wait to go there someday. That's like my favorite city that I've ever been to. And I've been to some cities, but that's my favorite one that I've been to. And I can't wait to go back. But now the Knicks, they made the playoffs this past season. I mentioned Julius Randle being All-NBA second team, I believe. Guys stepped up on this team everywhere. R.J. Barrett, showed a lot of good, strides in his second season. Was a 40% shooter in the regular season, but playoffs he wasn't 40%. But regular season he played very well. Mitchell Robinson went down. He of course Mitchell Robinson was playing good, but Nerlens Noel came in and he stepped up exceptionally well for this team. And even guys like Reggie Bullock came out of nowhere and was shooting lights out. Alec Burks was having big games during the season. Didn't even mention Emmanuel Quickly, the late first round pick, who everybody, the draft experts were like, why are they taking Quickly this high? But Quickly showed that he can hoop. He brought a different energy to this team. Obi Toppin played well in spurts for this team during the season. Taj Gibson was productive. A lot of people didn't know Taj Gibson was still in the league, but he was productive for this team. Tom Thibodeau comes in, puts his imprint on this team, gives this team the identity that they want, and now the Knicks are a team that should be expected to be a postseason team, and now it's like, what's next for this team? And of course, the addition of Derrick Rose was big. He's a free agent this offseason. You would hope that D Rose would be back in the Garden next season, but you don't know. You don't know. Maybe some team will try to pry him away from New York. But I think the Knicks have the makings. They have the cap space. They have draft capital. They can make a lot happen. This Knicks team can look a little different going into next season. They have a lot of pieces to make something happen, man. And what's the first step for this team? I would say, I mentioned with the Boston Celtics and the Phoenix Suns, the point guard play, like that is a big storyline this offseason, man. The Knicks, D Rose had to play a lot of minutes in the postseason. That's not what Derrick Rose is supposed to be doing at this stage in his career. Everybody knows he's dealt with the injuries and stuff, but playing D Rose 30+ minutes, starter minutes in the playoffs, it wore him down by Game 5 of that series. He was worn out. Elfrid Payton was starting point guard most of the season. Quickly was getting a lot of minutes too, but obviously if you want to be a very good team, you need better point guard play. Julius Randle was asked to do a lot of playmaking. He was asked to handle the ball so much this season. And in the playoffs, it just the Hawks cut that stuff out. They cut it out. They were, driving lanes were, congested for Julius Randle, and they really limited him. So I think getting a very good point guard in there is going to be key, or just somebody that can put pressure on the defense other than Julius Randle. And so Derrick Rose doesn't have to play as much minutes if he returns to New York. But I've mentioned this. If Dame requests a trade, I like the Knicks. I like the Knicks because Dame is the type of dude that he doesn't want to run from the grind. He likes the grind, getting it out the mud. And, running from the grind would be like, if he requested a trade to the Nets, potentially the Lakers, like that would kind of be something like running away from the grind a little bit. But going to the Knicks, man, that's embracing the grind. That is embracing the grind because the Knicks ain't won nothing in like 50 years. The Knicks ain't won nothing in like 50 years. That would be 100% embracing the grind. And, that would just be trying to take this team to a new level. They made the playoffs last season, but adding Dame, depending on what you give up, it could elevate this team. It will give Julius Randle somebody that will take the pressure off him a lot. You know, Dame can take the pressure. And then Dame can look at Julius Randle like, I believe in you to take the pressure off of me as well. And they would also have enough space to make, you know, additional moves this offseason, you know, filling some gaps here and there. They do got, you know, Reggie Bullock's a free agent. Nerlens Noel's a free agent. I think Julius Randle's on the team option, which is a bargain. But, you know, they got, you know, I think Alec Burks is a free agent. D Rose. They have a lot of free agents. They have a couple of first-round picks, 19 and 21. They got some young pieces. They have the move. They have what it takes, I think, to trade for Damian Lillard. If you got to throw in R.J. Barrett, so be it. So be it. But if you do strike out on Dame, which is very, very possible, there's other guys that you can bring in. Excuse me. There's other guys that you can bring in as well. Like, I'm gonna sound like a broken record in these videos, but vet point guards like Mike Conley, like Kyle Lowry, would fit in very well with the Knicks. Could also bring in, you know, Collin Sexton's on the trade block. The Knicks have been linked to him, and you might not have to give up that much to get Collin Sexton because the Cavs don't want to pay him. You know, that's the worst kept secret in the league. The Cavs don't want to pay Collin Sexton, so you could potentially bring in Collin Sexton. There's some moves that the Knicks can definitely make if Dame is not available or if you don't get Dame. There's other moves, man, and I think moves like that can help this team, you know, get over that hump of the first round, or at least, you know, put pressure on the team, you know, in the first round, because they didn't really do that to the Hawks. The Hawks were clearly the better team, and the Hawks they had one bad second half, and other than that, they would have swept the Knicks completely. So there's other moves I think for the Knicks to make, but I think the main thing is like bringing back, you know, the key guys. I really think Nerlens Noel would be somebody that they should kind of prioritize to bring back. And if you don't have to pay him that much, you know, a lot amount of money, I think he'd be somebody to bring back because he's great insurance if Mitchell Robinson does get hurt or gets in foul trouble. Because there wasn't really any drop off between those two. You know, I liked having guys like Reggie Bullock who really embrace the Tom Thibodeau way. You know, just playing hard, playing your role. They embraced that way. The Alec Burks, like, I really did like what this Knicks team provided, but obviously they were missing a lot. They played above their heads this season, I would say. You know, defensively, amazing team. Offensively, they was not that. They were a bad offensive team. Other than Julius Randle, but, you know, the postseason's a different beast. And that's what the Knicks should be thinking, man. It's playoffs now. You know, we're a playoff team. It was cute that we made it to the postseason this year where nobody expected us to. But now we're expected to be there, and we're expected to produce when we're there. So we got to be better. We have to improve this team. They have a lot of cap space this offseason. We'll see what they do with that. You know, I mean, if you strike out on trading for Dame or something, you could maybe like pay DeMar DeRozan some money. You know, it's not gonna elevate you to a contending team, but you'll definitely be an improved team for sure. That's an added playmaker. You know, DeMar DeRozan's improved as a playmaker. That's an added threat that you could add to the squad. I mentioned the guards that they could go after. I doubt it, but Chris Paul, like, I mean, if you throw him a bag, maybe he comes to New York, and y'all think that y'all are the next Suns. Like, maybe that happens. Who knows? But I think the Knicks, it's for Leon Rose and the front office, it's hard to mess this up. Not saying that they're going to be a championship team, but it's hard to mess this up to see this team regress. It's going to be very difficult to see that happen. They have 2 first-round picks, 19 and 21, like I mentioned, so we'll see what they do with that. But I've mentioned this so many. The NBA is a lot better when the Knicks are good. It's that the NBA is a lot better when the New York Knicks are playing good basketball. And y'all seen how rocking the Garden was, even when they was down 3-1. The Garden was jumping. And like that environment, I can only imagine what it's like to be, you know, playing in that, or just as a fan there, or like whatever, like just to be in that building. I could only imagine what that feels like. And I'm excited that the Knicks are good again. How good would they be? That is to be seen. But they have the makings, man. Like I said, the point guard position is key. Not just getting a starting guard that you can really trust, not Elfrid Payton or throwing Emmanuel quickly into the fire, but you know, somebody that you can trust, man. Like you need, you know, Collin Sexton's not really a point guard, but he's a guard. If that's like kind of worst case scenario, I would say. But of course, if Dame requests that trade, man, the Knicks need to be one of the first people to call the Blazers phones, because they look. If you might have to slight overpay, you might have to throw in RJ quickly / Toppin and both of those first round picks. But I'm not a GM, but if I was, I would throw that package together, man. I wouldn't really think twice about it, because I think that would elevate this Knicks team to being a team that could potentially make a nice playoff run. And maybe you add another piece here, you could be a contending team. You don't know. Like, that's just, this season should show us that, all it takes is, a couple moves here and there and a little bit of luck, and you might be able to make a finals run. But if they strike out on those guys, there's a lot of good point guards on the market. Didn't even mention Spencer Dinwiddie. He can just cross the bridge and go to the city. There's a lot of potential for the Knicks offseason to be full of fireworks. But you don't want to overpay somebody. You don't want to reach too much to trade for somebody. Be smart with it. I think this Knicks front office is as good as it's been in a very long time, and I don't think that they will mess this up. But you do got to capitalize on what you have. You got a lot of cap space. You have draft capital. You have young players that are very good. You got to be able to capitalize on this, man. But the Knicks are good. But what's next for them? We'll see what this offseason holds for the Knicks. Just glad to see them back being a good NBA team. But it shouldn't stop here, though. They shouldn't be happy with just being good. They should want to be excellent. So we'll see what New York City will bring to us next NBA season after this offseason, man. But this is the What's Next series featuring the New York Knicks. This is part 3. I don't know who I'm going to do next, but y'all will see when it's posted, man. I appreciate y'all for tuning in, and I'm out. Peace.